Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, fans of Sky Tier. Welcome to tonight's broadcast of the monthly clash between Kirito and his opponent, Jeremey. I am your host, RG Commander, reporting for duty. Joining me in the commentator booth tonight is no one. I'm all by myself. So I hope that you are able to enjoy just me, myself, and nobody else. I promise you that we will still provide a ton of high-quality analysis, banter, and, of course, a ton of can we hating. So, let's take a look at what we have here. The victory conditions for today's game: invasion, double kill, and obstinacy. Now, during the coin toss, which we held before the start of the broadcast, Jeremey did win the coin flip and elected to go first. And so Kirito got choice of the outsider. And as a result, he selected the original outsider to be brought into the field. So, taking a look at our draft so far, we have Yami brought on the field, Hogasai, and Akimo, as well as Freyhill and Estrida from Kirito. I will post the link for this in the content, so give me just a second, and then we'll discuss each player's deck. All right, thank you very much for waiting for us. So, let's take a look at the drafts here so far. So, whoops, I forgot I'm in charge of the camera, and we can't scroll up that high. So, Yami. As we know, Yami, very good as the jack of all trades, master of none necessarily, but still very good at what she does, good at lane control, good at damaging heroes. We have Akimo. I think we all know what Akimo does. Akimo attacks people and kills them very, very quickly. Finally, the third choice that we have there is Hogasai. Hogasai, very good. He's the tank of the red squad, but also known for being able to reduce enemies' armor and cause a small amount of damage with the Purifying Fire worship ability. Finally, the last choice here is Shillavi. So, one thing that I would like to note about Jeremey's deck involves rainbow play. In other words, all four factions are represented. So, one of the benefits to rainbow play is that you have access to all of the power cards. A lot of times people say, you know, I really want to use the red card, but if I'm running a squad that is only blue-yellows, I can't use frenzy cards, I can't use doom card, I can't use quick shot. This is the advantage of the rainbow deck. The trade-off, of course, is that you sacrifice Suicide Squad version 2. Therefore, what I expect to see with Freyhill, Estrida, Gilbjorn, and Shillavi, I expect to see a significant amount of revenge proccing. I've played against Kirito with Suicide Squad version 1 on the Ashen Pass, and I can tell you that he makes a very, very potent threat with multiple revenge triggers happening with all of his heroes. He has elected to draft 4 heroes from the blue squad, so we do have a blue blob setup with emphasis on using Shillavi's revenge passive in order to deal extra damage to the heroes. So, to destroy minions and heroes alike. And as we see, his first actions were the skirmish, the move, and the lead. So as a result, we cleaned up a minion. Okay, looks like we're back. Hopefully we are returned to the game. We will assume that everything is well and good. So as we were saying, the main kind of point of Kirito's Sky Tier discharge is to run the hero back and forth over the white line of the dome, and then deal significant damage users against an adjacent hero from the damage they took from the Sky Tier discharge. So we'll see how that plays out for him overall in the game as it goes on. As we notice from our victory conditions, we do have the double kill, the obstinacy victory conditions that are available to us. And so we can expect a lot of damage from both players, I think. I apologize. We have just a slight technical issue here. It seems to be buffering non-stop for some reason, and I'm not sure why, as I don't have multiple programs running. Let's see if I can toggle this around here. All right, well, I think we are able to stream now, hopefully. If it does continue to become an issue, then we will proceed to record this and upload it ahead of time, or upload it at a later time. I think what we may end up having to do here is simply record the game, since I'm not sure exactly why the stream keeps going down on me. But if it does happen again, then it may just be the case that we will have to record the game and upload it at a different time. And I apologize, everyone, for these technical issues. I'm not quite certain what the issue is. We did do a stream before and didn't have these issues, so I'm not quite sure what's causing the lag and the latency. I will do some triage and investigating afterwards, but hopefully we can survive through this game without that occurring. So, to recap real fast, since I'm not certain exactly what went through, what did not, Yami moved over here, led, skirmished, worshipped. There are a total of 8 cards in Jeremy's deck that have a 3 mana. Therefore, reasonably safe to assume that the lead from hand was a 3 mana. Now, Kirito, moving Freyhill into the dome, proceeds to worship from the deck lead. That will end her turn. So now we need to set the power of the blue blob, and we see that Kirito chose to flip. Freyhill's passive allows her to flip a card for healing whenever a friendly hero shapeshifts within 3. Of course, Freyhill has not taken any damage at this point, but nevertheless, I think he may wanted to have gone through some of the cards in his deck. As we mentioned before, one of the things that we're going to see is high aggression out of both of these teams. I expect a little bit more direct attack from Jeremey. Now, one thing I did forget to mention earlier as I was going through his deck is extremely high on modifiers. However, he does not have any way to induce frenzy. There is no strength over pain, aside from Akimo's ultimate, of course. But there is none of the cards that give frenzy, either red or green, in his deck. So I am a little bit concerned that he's running a hero that is pretty much made for frenzy without having any additional frenzy cards. And I hope that this doesn't come back to kind of bite him, so to speak. But that being said, it is early and there are plenty of plays. So we see Shillavi moving into the field. This looks like a good idea here to me. We can gun down Frail very quickly. One of the common things that we see is players who are first into the dome will usually only move into this first line here of the dome or over there. in order to make it so that their opponent has to use both a move and a skirmish in order to hit them. However, by choosing Kirito's position, he is a little bit more forward, able to influence a little bit stronger of an area. However, he is now open to the move attack. But, as we just saw there, revenge from Shilovy. The game has already begun. When a friendly shapeshifted hero within 3 loses HP, you can deal 1 plus the flip. As we saw the Presence flip, Presence is a +1, so therefore Shilovy took 2, while Freyhill took her damage as well, which I believe was a +2. So Freyhill down to, 6 damage, -1 armor for 5 damage total. So Freyhill down to 11 hit points, Shilovy down to 16. All right, he has now chosen to skirmish and move into lane 1. Maybe we're not. Not going to quite do that. Unless I believe perhaps we're going to... Oh, Freyhill is going to use Sacrifice. Interesting. So now, this is actually going to count as a double play, and I'm going to move down here real fast so we can see Sacrifice. Sacrifice allows you to heal another target 4 HP, losing 2 HP. Now, of course, we know that Freyhill, when shapeshifted, can actually use healing as damage to the opponent. So therefore, Shilovy is going to take hit point damage from the heal, and is then going to take damage from the Revenge proc, because Shilovy's Revenge proc works, as you can see here, when the hero loses HP. And so that would include buy effects of cards as a result. Now, that being said, everything I said doesn't matter because Charm was actually played. I'm going to scroll up here just a bit. I know this makes it a little bit more difficult to see, but it will make it so that we can see all the cards being played, I think. So Charm is actually going to allow everything I just said to stop. So Charm removes 1 condition and then applies it to the caster. So Shilovy is now going to be the shapeshifted one. So therefore, does sacrifice the 2 HP to heal Shilovy back to full. You can see her hit points are back to 18. And then skirmish out to influence lane 1. So actually a very strong play. Whenever you're going against the blue team, you definitely want to be carrying Charm in your deck for this exact purpose. Kirito's Suicide Squad is based around the Shilovy Revenge procs, as I mentioned. Well, the problem is those Revenge procs are based around the hero being shapeshifted. And as such, because the shapeshifting is so essential, using that charm to steal it away guarantees that this plan faces significant challenges. So let's see what happens here. So now, Kirito is going to bring his own Shilovy into the field here, shapeshifting her as well. Shapeshifting Freyhill. Makes sense. And I suspect we will probably... Well, he's already led from the deck. So he's actually just going to go ahead and heal Freyhill using her passive there. And then we'll see what happens as his final move. He's going to lead again from the deck, doubling up. Since he's leading blind from the deck, he wants to double up and make sure that everything is... He really wants to get control of that outsider. The outsider has a number of abilities, one of which is to allow your allied heroes to take a free worship action. This could allow him for a free shapeshift going into round 2 if he were to win control of the dome. Let's see the next play here. It looks like Hokusai might be going next. Seems to be the play here. And Hokusai is a champion that I really enjoy. So Hokusai, his mark is probably one of the more useful ones. Or actually, I mean, they're all useful to their own extent, but I think this one is particularly useful, reducing enemy armor by 1. As you can see here, Gilbjorn, Gilbjorn, Freyhill, and Estrida all have 1 armor, so marking them does set that up for an easy Akimo move-in and assassination. So we have Freyhill marked. So what this is going to now allow Hokusai to potentially do is flip for the Purifying Flame damage. So we'll take a look. Oh, that's Yami. That's a chemo. If we could select Hokusai, that'd be wonderful. So Purifying Flame, you can sacrifice 1 plus a flip hit points on Hokusai in order to deal the same amount piercing damage to whomever you mark. So therefore, we're bringing Freyhill down to 7 hit points, even lower. This is going to make it so that Akimo can potentially move for a quick kill. Remember that I talked about that idea of where to position your heroes inside the dome. The fact that Freyhill is within 3 and now but Hokusai has actually stepped outside the dome, so therefore the passive does not apply. Okay, interesting play. Now, the important thing to note is that Freyhill does still get a +1 damage against her from Akimo due to the marked effect. Akimo gets +1 against any marked hero. And so then, therefore, it's functionally the same thing. But had it been the case where where Hokusai's debuff was in effect, that would have guaranteed an Akimo kill going into Akimo's activation if he so chose. Meanwhile, it looks like we have a skirmish action and a worship action here. Astrida is being worshipped. And so I believe that the final attack then will be against a minion. So Astrida skirmished against the Shillavi there to get into position. A flip, -1, no damage. Going to attack the minion there, as you can see. Astrida, very obnoxious. Whenever she's shapeshifted, she can not only cause disarm, whenever people are within 3 from her that are shapeshifted, they can cause disarm. Whenever Astrida kills minions, she then sacrifices 2 hit points to spawn additional minions. And so as you can see, just like that, control has flipped over in that dome. In that lane in terms of minions. Now, Yami still has a lead from the hand and has Shillavi there to back her up. So with Astrida not leading in there, overall advantage still in the favor of Jeremey for lane 1. Now, lane 2, as we see, only has Hokusai. So, in my opinion, I guess you couldn't do that based on that positioning. You can either kill Freyhill or support lane 2. Given that Hokusai is already winning lane 2, I believe in this case the correct play would be to move in and assassinate her. As we can see right there, moving in, Jeremy's going to move in and do the attack on Freyhill. And as we can see, we've got the plus flips there. That's a +2. Akimo gets +1 against the attack of a marked enemy. So that's 5 +2, 7 damage. Now, as we see here, Freyhill has 7 hit points. However, a Nourish play flips in, completely negates what I was about to say, so the whole minus armor debuff doesn't really matter. Freyhill heals up a little bit thanks to Nourish, and then immediately drops down into 3. Now, this is where down to 4. Now, this is where the debuff would have mattered, because in this situation, -1 armor means that she would be down to 3 HP, which means that potentially you could flip for a skirmish kill. It would require an ultimate on the flip, so a little bit risky, but it would have been possible. However, not going to happen. Now, that being said, we can see in this situation, Jeremey is going to walk away with 2 lane victories here, and Kirito walking away with the dome victory for certainty. I believe that, actually, I shouldn't say that just yet. I forgot that Gilbjorn still has to move. So Gilbjorn actually could go and contest lane 2. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. I do that sometimes, occasionally. I apologize for that. So the question now is, what will Kirito do with Gilbjorn? So, in this situation, if Gilbjorn shapeshifts and then goes and attacks Akimo, you could disarm him. Being within range 3 of Astrida allows shapeshifted heroes to cause disarm. He could go to lane 2 and counter... okay. So, there's a lead from the hand. Interesting. So, I'm going to have to assume that that's a 3. And so what Jeremey is actually doing here is banking on Kirito not having put a 3 mana for either Freyhill or Shillavi. In fact, let's take a look at Kirito's deck here. So with Shillavi here, we actually have a lot of 0s and 1s. Freyhill brings us Chasm, Sinkhole, and Ice Wall, 1 copy of each. Brilvar brings 2 Sinkholes, 2 Gathering Storms, and Astrida brings 2 Chasms and an Ice Wall. So, I'm sorry, I looked at Brilvar and I wanted Gilbjorn. Gilbjorn brings us 3 Rampant Hatreds for a 3 mana, so overall, there's a reasonably good chance that Kirito has led with a 3, which will give him control of the dome. But nevertheless, Jeremey has made it so that if there is not a 3, not going to happen. Meanwhile, Gilbjorn moves in. As we can see, he is indeed worshipped. He has skirmished. Now he's going to attack Akimo. This is going to deal significant damage to Akimo, bringing him down to 11 hit points and causing the disarm for his next turn. That was all courtesy of Estrida. So in this situation, you can see the power of the blue blob, everyone. Even though Kirito's potential revenge-happy plan might have fallen apart a little bit, there are other ways to make blue powerful. All right, so Yami leads with a 3, as we suspected. This is clearly going to win his lane over there. There was no contest from Estrida. Both blue minions die. That red control token, that control zone token pressed all the way against the tower now, which means that it is possible for tower destruction as well. Remember, of course, in addition to the 3 types of victory conditions that are possible at the top of your screen, it is also possible to win the game via Nexus Destruction. And in this position, this is a good setup here. 3 minions are alive. Now, the problem with this is that Estrida is located over in that lane, so it might be necessary to pressure her. Luckily, both Shalavi and Yami are capable of pressuring heroes as well as minions, so we'll see how Jeremey chooses to go on the offensive next round. Now, Hokusai in lane 2 is going to win by 1, so we'll kill off a minion. Respawn over there. We could get a potential slow push. So, invasion is a possibility now. Right, as it stands, lane 1 pressed against the tower. Now, lane 2, if Hokusai goes over there, does a little... Oh, my goodness! We'll talk about Hokusai in just a second because Kirito flipped 2 1s. Now, what that means is that despite the fact that Gulbjarn, Shalavi, and Freyhill were all sitting in the dome, Kirito's total lead value is 4. Compared with the lead from Jeremey, which was also 4, means that we have a push. As such, no outsider. Very good play by Jeremey. I like it. You could not kill Freyhill in that case, and so therefore the lead actually prevented the outsider from coming online. Excellent play. This is going to set Jeremey up very nicely for round 2. However, round 2, plenty of things can still happen, so let's go ahead and make some magic and see what happens here. So, in this situation, I think that the obvious play here is, well, I would actually say the obvious play is to go ahead and kill Freyhill, but Kirito disarmed Akimo last round, which makes that a little bit more difficult. Now, you could mark her, and now doing the math, that's still not a good plan there. Uh-oh. It looks like the game has collapsed. That is unfortunate. So, we have another tech issue that is, thankfully, not my fault. So let's talk about the game real quick and think about the possibilities for the round 2. 3, all of the blue heroes are positioned effectively. Blue blob is a possibility. We haven't seen Sky Tier Discharge yet, and so as a result, that could potentially show up, but the problem is you usually like to do that using Freyhill as the target because she's able to do piercing damage when shapeshifted. The problem, however, is she has no hit points right now. As such, in order to do this strategy, she would have to first find a way to heal herself. And we've seen a number of cards in here. Actually, let's see if I can access this as a... Nope, I can't do that. Oh, let's see. Can I cannot interact with that. Okay, let's see if I change my color to yellow. I'll be on Kirito's team. If we inspect his discard pile here, real fast, we can take a look here. We can see 1 Nourish. We can see all 3 sacrifices there and 2 Nourishes. So therefore, healing, very unlikely to come through for this turn. And so, as a result, using Freyhill, not the safest strategy. Of course, everyone else is reasonably healthy. Gilbjorn, not Brilvar. Brilvar is very healthy. Shalavi, very healthy. So it is possible that we may see them be the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, for the Sky Tier discharge. Or we may just wait until a later turn. Now, talking back to Hokusai. So Hokusai has a couple options. Hokusai could potentially come into the dome here. It would require commitment of all three of his actions, but using a combination of the move, the worship, and the skirmish, there is a strong possibility to kill him. Ah, interesting. So Freyhill is indeed going to play the Sky Tier discharge. This is going to potentially disincentivize Hokusai moving through. Notice that Freyhill is currently worshipped, which means that she deals piercing damage. So even if Hokusai crosses the line, those two armor points are not going to defend him from Freyhill's magic. That being said, Hokusai does have 14 hit points remaining, and so I think it might be a worthwhile consideration. If we move, we worship, and we skirmish, it is probable that we kill Freyhill. And, oh, wait a minute, we have a double up. Now that makes things a little bit different. So Freyhill, as you can see, has stacked the Sky Tier discharges. This is one of the things that I mentioned and why Kirito's deck is called Suicide Squad. So, generally he likes to use it on himself, but right now he's using it as a strong deterrent from anyone coming in the dome or from Akimo leaving the dome. Obviously, as we see, Akimo has 11 hit points remaining, so not the worst of conditions, but still not really the best of conditions either when you've got three heroes that are breathing down your neck and in range to attack. So the question now for Jeremey is, do you run the risk that Kirito doesn't flip well against you, or do you just play it safe and do something else? So let's see what happens. It looks like we're going to attack. There's two active player tokens, so it is actually on Shillavi. So Shillavi is going to attack. So she's attacking Astrida. I like this play as well. Dropping Astrida down disincentivizes her to use her ability to spawn more minions. The question is now, what else do you do as well with this? I think that you could potentially skirmish and deal more damage to Astrida, given that we mentioned that this is a pretty high flips deck. It seems reasonable that you should be able to get a +2, deal 1 additional damage, maybe 2 if you flip an ultimate. Of course, if you have another 3-mana card in the deck, then by all means, certainly, in the hand, then you can play, we're leading from the deck. Okay, now this is particularly risky. So, as I mentioned, there are a grand total of 8, and we've already seen several of them from last round. Let's go ahead and inspect here again, just to refresh my memory. So we did indeed see 2 Dragon Punches plus a Chasm, which means there are only 5 remaining. And given that he didn't lead from the hand, I would have to assume that unless it's an ultimate card, there's nothing really in the hand either for him to lead with. So we'll see if this plays out in his favor or not. Kirito might have to call his bluff. Now, the good news is there is only... actually, no, that's not true. That's in Ekrit's deck. There are pretty much only ones. So there are 5 remaining 3-mana cards, and then the rest are all 1-mana cards in Jeremy's deck. So in all likelihood, that lead from deck is probably a 1, but we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, Freyhill is going. So as we see, Freyhill has attacked Shillavi again. Given that Freyhill is shapeshifted, that will apply the disarm. And going to end with Worship to renew the shapeshifted effect, keep that piercing damage. Also allows her to heal. Now, that flip of 3, very, very useful there. That's going to allow him to heal up 4 hit points on Freyhill, bringing her out of the danger zone, which means that assassination is no longer on the table. which is a shame because anytime that assassination is on the table, I am instantly 25% more invested in the situation. Now, you can still kill off an 8 hit point hero, but it does require a little bit more commitment. In this situation now, I think that he probably... I have to think about how you would set this up efficiently. Freyhill has exited the dome and is now helping to push lane 1 away from the control zone. Yami is going. So what I would like to see here... Okay, we see Yami skirmish. I expect her then to move through the minions, burn one of them, and then potentially attack either Freyhill or Estrida. Yep, there's the move. We're going to target that minion there with the flip. This flip goes guaranteed. There are no -1s. So as we can see there, that was a swiftness for the flip. +1, so 2 damage to the minion. The minion is now dead. So the final question is, does he use attack or does he use a lead action? Also, I will get the stream overlay back on for us in just a second once I am able to do so. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Maybe if I go back to gray, that will allow me to... Where's my stream overlay? Alright. Well, for whatever reason, the stream overlay has disappeared and it's not letting me access it. So, we're going to have to deal with that. So, with that being said then, we'll just go ahead and remind you of the important bits. So, to remind ourselves, we do have invasion, double kill, and obstinacy as our victory conditions. This is really bugging me. Oh well. It wouldn't be a cast if something didn't go terribly, horribly wrong. That's not what we want. That's chat settings. Do we have it under the menu, perhaps? No, this looks right. Alright, well, regardless. So, I apologize for that. I am, of course, the world's worst streamer, because I don't know how to use any of these functions. So, my apologies for that. Meanwhile, let's talk about what's going on in the game. Estrida has played Presence, so Kirito realizes that he has to get the control token off of his tower. Presence allows him to add a +1 to the caster, Estrida, and so now this actually makes her a target. So Estrida only has 6 hit points left at this stage, which means it is a possibility that we could go for an assassination. Now, Akimo is disarmed. Hokusai is actually out of range. So actually, that assassination not going to happen. Due to the positioning of everyone's heroes, Estrida is perfectly safe to make this move. I like it. And that essentially guarantees that Kirito has a strong fight in this lane. Taking a rough summary here at this, okay. And healing Estrida back to 9 hit points. There's another discharge, Skytier discharge that we saw on the flip, so we won't see that for this cycle of the deck. But in this situation, I think Kirito is safe from an invasion attack, at least during this round. This attack here, this will kill 1 minion, spawn another one in its place. So if we take a look here, that's going to give a total control value of 5 right now for Kirito versus 4 plus whatever is under the card. I have to assume 5. Now, the danger with this is that in a push situation, the control zone is actually not going to move, which means that... What are we flipping for here? Did we not flip for everything? I have no idea. All right, anyways. Which means that in this situation, Kirito needs to win the control zone, not tie it. Because looking at the right lane from our perspective, control zone 2, even if Hokusai goes into the dome, if Kirito does not respond to lane 2, that's going to push the token all the way up to the right tower. We notice that there are 4 minions versus... Oh, nope, I lied. I can't see. I apologize. There are 4 minions to 3, so in some way, Hokusai needs to intervene on that side, as long as it is in so much as, pushing a minion out, or killing a minion out, or leading whatever. That will get that there. However, with that lead from Astrida, I don't think that there's any way for the control zone to stay right there, pressed against that tower. That is a lead from deck, so statistically speaking, that should be a 3 card at this point in the game. We'll obviously have to wait for the flip to find out. But I think that Kirito will be safe with this series of plays. Oh, we're taking it back. We're leading from the hand. Okay. So in that case, he's almost certainly going to be safe from any type of invasion play there. Even if Akimo moves over, unless that is a 3 card hidden by Shillavi, which statistically it's not, that control zone will move at least a little bit away. Now, that being said, there is possibility for Akimo to skirmish, move, and then attack a minion to kind of reduce the inefficiency of his attack from the disarm. We see that Akimo is going to go. Okay, and that looks like a potential. So we're going to skirmish there. I guess he's going to flip against Shillavi. Does +2 from the charm flip, -1 damage total. So nothing really exciting, but hey, a damage point is a damage point. So we've got that going for us, which is nice. Now, okay, he's going to attack now. Interesting. I don't necessarily agree with this, but okay, well, there's Shillavi's ultimate flipped. So this is going to do a total of 7, cut in half, which is 3.5 damage, rounds up to 4. So we see that Shillavi is down to 13 hit points. Good play there, overall, in terms of bringing the assassin down. And a lead from the deck. Okay. I think that his turn economy could have been a little bit better. I don't think there's any chance that he pushes in the dome this round. I think that Kirito did lead from the hand with Astrida, so that may actually be the case that he does have no more greens, or excuse me, no more 3s in the hand, and he has to rely on a deck. And if that was indeed a lucky pull from the deck for Akimo there, that might result in a push, but statistically it's unlikely. Of course, we also know that there is the meme, dead heroes can't lead. Akimo has 0 armor, and there's still an assassin and Gilbjorn left to go. As we can see, Shillavi does 4 +2 flips, Gilbjorn does 3. They can also skirmish, which means, strictly speaking, Akimo can die here if Kirito wants the blood. We see 2 flips there, which means I'm assuming the attack went through against Akimo. No, the attack was actually... Okay, there we go. Yes, the attack was against Akimo. And so Akimo is down to 4 hit points. So he's not within kill range from Shillavi as of now, but Gilbjorn can, in fact, kill him off, or kill Akimo off. So we do see that the worship action comes through. Worship onto Astrida makes sense. Shuffle the deck. We're going to heal Astrida up by Freyhill's passive, bringing her, again, farther and farther away from the death zone. And this is really kind of the power of the blue blob, being able to play off each other's abilities like this. So Kirito's deck did one thing, and in the end, though, it is still a blue blob deck. Still has all the power of those synergies that I talked about at the beginning of the cast. Do you want to play for being able to stack worship abilities, or do you want to expose yourself to having availability of all the different kinds of mana? We'll see what happens. So, Hokusai moving in. So Hokusai goes for the skirmish. I expect now for an attack to go through. We have a Sky Tier Flux. So let's go ahead and see what exactly this is going to result. The Dragon Punch. Okay, this is great. So Dragon Punch is going to allow him to completely destroy all of Kirito's minion line against that right now. So this is now an interesting situation. Does Gilbjorn kill a chemo or prevent the tower from dying? Because as it stands, Jeremey has 5 points of control in Zone 2. Kirito has 0. That control zone is within 3, which means that the tower does take any additional damage, and with no minions to absorb anything, Gilbjorn has to respond to this if the tower is not to be destroyed. Now, that being said, you could take the option to kill a chemo. If you kill a chemo, he is already activated. He's not coming back until turn 4, which means that Kirito will be able to go through the Ultimates round without having to worry about Demonic Possession. Demonic Possession would allow for a chemo to potentially Zerg down Shillavi at 13 hit points, with a mark action as well to boost his attack damage. Very plausible that she dies. This is a tough call here. What I think he needs to do here is kind of go for a little bit of each. If Gilbjorn skirmishes, gets a good flip against a chemo, attacks a chemo, and then moves to the hex within 3. If he positions himself, he can position himself on 1 hex exactly that would allow Gilbjorn to influence Control Zone 2, which would leave the tower with... never mind. Hokusai led from the deck, which means that Jeremey has a +1 value there, so Hokusai's presence does not matter. As I mentioned before, the only cards in those decks are 1s and 3s. Statistically, it's a 1. We don't know yet for sure. But in this situation, Gilbjorn will not be able to kill both a chemo and defend the lane. So let's see what he chooses to do. I see a skirmish declared, so it looks like we are indeed going to kill a chemo. We're going to go for the hero advantage, and we're just going to say goodbye, Tower 2. We flip against there. However, the -1 against the skirmish does not deal any damage. So this is one of the problems with Kirito's deck. It is very powerful. It is a blue blob deck, but there are a number of -1s. And so, as a result, he's going to need to get a +1 or better on an attack flip in order to guarantee that a chemo dies. Looking at his deck, that's a bit iffy. He has just shuffled over his deck. There are 2 more Strength over Pains. There are... actually, you know what? That's not a risky flip. Kirito, you should attack and kill a chemo at this point. You are statistically guaranteed, statistically likely, statistically guaranteed, that doesn't make any sense, statistically likely to go ahead and kill him. Instead, we see the worship action, okay? So we worship Shillavi here. Potentially doing some shenanigans there, so we're going to heal Shillavi. I like this play as well. If a chemo survives, it's going to be much harder to bring her down from 15 hit points than it would be from what she had previously, and a lead. So what we're doing here is ensuring that Kirito gets control of the outsider. So that means goodbye Control Zone 2 tower, which means that Nexus Destruction is potentially in play. A chemo survives. Oh boy. All right, so I think that is entirely the end of the round. So let's see here. Astrida versus Shillavi. So as I called it, the +1 control from Shillavi, +3 from Astrida means that the control zone does back away from the tower, back 3 squares. 3 minions are destroyed. Kirito is safe from the invasion. And we reposition the minions. Now, that being said, lane 1 is now in a neutral position, which is perfectly fine. No damage possible to Jeremy's towers. Now we resolve lane 2. I think we've got everything taken care of in lane 1. In lane 2, we take a look at Hokusai, who is uncontested. He also led with a 1. Again, as I mentioned, it is pretty much all 1s left in the deck at this point, except for the ultimates. Of course, not counting what might be in the hand as well. The entire tower is destroyed, which means that the Nexus is now vulnerable. So, Kirito does not get to spawn minions, so you better put those back, sir. The control zone is now pressed right against the tower. Okay, good, yeah. Back goes minions away. So now, Nexus destruction is a possibility. So I had to ping Kirito there real quick as a friendly reminder that, no, you can't put that over there. That's out of line of sight of the minion. When your tower is totally destroyed, you don't get to spawn minions anymore. In most online MOBAs, you get the super minions or the sieging minions. In Sky Tier, you no longer get to spawn minions in that lane. So, as a result, there are now 6 minions barreling down on that Nexus. Now, unfortunately, due to the number of minions there, as you can see, it's difficult for Hokusai to really get in there. Now, it's it from the bushes, but not able to necessarily make a move in a way that he might like. However, Nexus destruction is a possibility. Kirito must now defend the Nexus or lose, because as of right now, you slide Hokusai in, you lead with him. That's a very easy Nexus kill. But first, Kirito has won control of the Outsider. Let's take a look and see what he does. So the Outsider, coming into play here, does a number of wonderful things. Divine Conduit allows you to target a friendly hero, take a worship action, very useful for the blue blob. Shockwave allows you to deal piercing damage and push a target hero away, and draw a card as well. And in addition to that, of course, he can make a ranged attack for 3 plus a flip, very powerful. So, let's see what happens here. It looks like the Outsider did make an attack, and he's targeting Shalavi. Interesting choice. Not going to go for the easy kill for a chemo. I have suspicions about why. I suspect we're setting up for a double kill in this play. And Shalavi is pretty easy to target. Now, interestingly enough, the positioning of the heroes as of right now do make it a little bit tricky to get access to both Akimo and Shalavi. Using Skirmish isn't an option, but Move is, as how it's placed. So we'll see what Kirito does here. But I do believe that Kirito has recognized double kill as a probable win condition for him. Jeremey, of course, doing Ricardo proud, going for Nexus destruction. So, we're on round 3. It is Ultimates round. We've seen a couple Ultimates that have been used during the flips. Let's see what happens. Do we get to see Demonic Frenzy? Do we get to see Akimo hack and slash someone? My guess is probably not, because as of right now, everybody is within range of Shalavi, which means as soon as he starts going after somebody, Revenge will trigger, which means he will die. Unless Kirito gets unlucky enough to flip another Strength over Pain, but I would not bank on that. Jeremey needs to think carefully about this, because this... okay, we're making Akimo go first. Now, that's another possibility that I didn't consider. If you have your hero die before the end of their activation, they are not considered exhausted. So sometimes people will, and we're going for the charm effect. So Shalavi is going to use the charm to steal the worship power from, it looks like Freyhill, potentially? Just thinking about it. So this is also a good option as well that I didn't consider. If we remove the charm, we no longer need to worry about the worshipping abilities. This is now going to allow Akimo a potential to skirmish, mark, attack, ultimate, and instantly annihilate Freyhill without having to worry about Shalavi's revenge passives killing her. So what I was saying before was that if a hero does not fully complete their turn, then they don't exhaust. So what a possibility could have been was to deal some damage with the chemo and then finally see if you can get Kirito to proc the revenge trigger and kill him before the end of his activation. But this is also a good plan as well. So we're going to skirmish here. We're going to deal 1 damage against Freyhill. Of course, she has 1 armor. The flip did 2. I would now like to see a mark action. Demonic Possession, Akimo's ultimate, does require mark, I believe, in order to activate, but here comes Through the Eyes. Through the Eyes, going to apply Disarm, so in this case, Charm really would have been useful here in order to prevent that. Let's see. We do know that he's stacking 3 charms in his deck. Let's hope that he has one more. We can, of course, go ahead and cheat here by searching the deck. I see charm number 1. I see charm number 2. Unlucky. So that means there is no way to cleanse this Disarm. Now, that being said, Freyhill does only have 7 hit points. So if we mark her and then frenzy attack her, which it looks like we're at least attacking her, it is still possible to do enough damage to kill her. So that attack there did 6 damage. Cut in half is 3. -1 for the armor, so 2 damage. So that's going to leave her with 5 hit points. Had you marked her with the worship action, you could have brought her to 4, and then if you play the ultimate, you would have been able to potentially kill her. But as it stands, that's probably no longer on the table, unless you mark her now, but that seems to be inefficient. So let's see what happens here. While we're at this, let's peruse his deck, see if there's anything else. He does have a Doom card with Akimo, which could potentially be useful to block any healing. There are additionally Through the Eyes from Shillavi. I'm not sure if that would be of any use. Clear Mind, that does allow him to get +1 attack and remove conditions. So if he has a Clear Mind, that's another way, although I suspect he would have done that beforehand. Okay, now this just doesn't make sense to me. He worships after the fact. So as a reminder here, for Akimo, you get to move towards the hero that you marked, but you also get +1 attack when you're attacking a marked enemy. I don't understand why you didn't do that before you attacked him, but whatever. There comes the Demonic Possession. Excellent. Frenzy fast to Akimo. That's wonderful. We may immediately take the attack action against the marked enemy hero as well. Freyhill is now marked, which means we can immediately deploy the attack action against her. This is awesome. Why are we grabbing a green pillar? There are no Talit heroes in this game. Okay, we're going for the fast. That makes sense. Alright, so we're going for the fast, and we're going for the frenzy. Unfortunately, the stacks are preventing us from doing so. So, Akimo is kind of like a walking biology lab at this point. He's got 3 different conditions. One of them is detrimental. Let's see what we've got here. Oh! That was actually a deck, so we have a deck shuffle, so we already see one of the charms flipped over there as part of the flip, so we're not going to be drawing that anytime soon. Freyhill takes another 3 points of damage. So, with that +1 from the attack, from the previous attack, she would still be alive with 1 HP overall, but of course, with the frenzy action, we are able to make a 3rd attack against Freyhill, sending her to the graveyard. I'm going to go ahead and move these, because apparently we forgot to do that. So Freyhill has been removed from the round. Actually, she should be round 5, I think. Did she not? Oh, no. This is the first action, so she did not go yet. Okay, so Gilbjorn is... Oh, all right. So Gilbjorn is now going to activate with the Rampant Hatred. So +1 skirmish damage for every enemy hero within the line of sight, and then a free skirmish action. This is almost going to guarantee that Akimo's dead. So he only gets +2. He cannot see Astrida. Still not bad. +2 to the skirmish and a free skirmish action. That is more than enough to kill Akimo, plus get in position where you can start laying the beat down onto Yami. What I could see him doing... No, you can't do that. You can't get there. There's too much of a movement. I was thinking he might try to set up against Shillavi and then use the bonus damage against Akimo, but that doesn't make any sense. He cannot reach Shillavi. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's been shapeshifted. Never mind. He does not need line of sight to Shillavi. So, when shapeshifted, Gilbjorn's skirmishes are actually AoEs, and so therefore does not need to see this. So, As a result, Shillavi is dead, and now Akimo is about to die as a result of another action, which means Kirito is about to win this game on account of double kill. So that setup from the outsider was what we wanted to see. As a result, the skirmish occurs here. There is absolutely no chance that Akimo can survive this. Even with a flip here, Gilbjorn still does +2 on the skirmish. Akimo has 0 armor. Akimo is defeated, and therefore, as a result, we have a double kill victory going to Kirito. Good game. Also, a question in the chat, where is the overlay? We had a game crash earlier and had to reload the game, and whenever I reloaded the game, the overlay was not coming up for me, so unfortunately I apologize. And we did not bring that back for the game, so I do apologize that we did not have the overlay for the second half. We've had a couple technical snafus during the broadcast, so I do thank you for bearing with us. Hopefully you enjoyed the game. Let's go ahead and jump into the channel and talk with the players.
And if I had done that, it would have been very difficult for me to get the double kill, and I wouldn't have had enough time for opposite because my next was going to go down before then.
Yeah.
So I probably, honestly, in hindsight, I don't know. Yeah, I also, when you moved Akimo out of the dome, I had a Sky Turret discharge. I could have used that, and it would have either killed Akimo or forced Akimo to stay in the dome, but I didn't want to kill Akimo.
Right.
Good game, gentlemen.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Thank you. Yeah, it was.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I kept forgetting to use Doom last turn with all that healing, but I don't think it mattered.
So you were doomed from the lack of Doom.
Yeah.
I apologize. That was terrible. I'm so sorry. So, I want to say.
Yeah, if you had used.
Go ahead, Kirito.
I was gonna say, if you had used Doom on like with Akimo before, I mean, I guess you wanted to use your demonic possession, but if you had used the Doom on Golbjorn there, that would have made things really, really difficult for me.
Oh yeah.
Because I wouldn't have been able to get the rampant hatred off.
Yep.
I mean, you could have. Yeah, you still could have potentially used Frey. Oh no, Freyhill's dead. You can't use her. Oops. I definitely just watched the game.
Freyhill, if he had done that, Freyhill wouldn't have died because he wouldn't have been able to use the demonic possession.
That is true. That is true.
And I didn't have anything really useful for Freyhill to cast in hand. I had Song of the Siren and Dance the Predator, and I drew a Strength over Pain and a Nourish off of the kill, but that wasn't in my hand.
I forgot to draw my 2 cards for the kill. Whoops.
Did those matter?
Whoops, I accidentally drew the Sky Tier Flux instead. So I'll feel silly if it does. But
Oh, what was that card you were asking about before, by the way? That it was about.
So I kept missing the word target. It was through the eyes.
Okay.
So I kept looking right over the word target, and I was wondering, can I disarm over the line? And then you didn't. I didn't realize the timing before, so I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So with the skirmish, you would have had to have done it before I had actually moved with the skirmish. So you didn't have a chance there, and then on that last turn, there was the white line.
Right. Yeah. So if it wasn't for the targeting part on through the eyes, I think I might have had a shot there.
Yeah. I mean, I know how to play around that. So like oftentimes, like I will intentionally start a skirmish. Like if I'm going to be skirmishing into somebody, like I will start here or here just to like make certain cards like through the eyes harder to pull off. And that's just something you get from playing a lot. You know how to play around certain cards.
Yeah.
Like the other thing is, I was a little nervous on the second turn by having a Strita here with a presence. I was worried about like a potential shove because I could have just lost to invasion there. But I had kind of looked at your discard and didn't see any shoves or any of those. Yeah, I didn't see any shoves, and you had already used the flux. I had thought about I didn't. you look like you would high flip, so I'm like, I think I'm okay. So I took a little bit of a chance there.
Yeah, so last turn I had thought about using the Sky Tier Flux with a chemo to take out your 2 minions, and then having a chemo in the right lane as well. Which might have been enough to push or to keep the token next to your tower, and then I had a pretty good chance of getting the left lane to the tower. But
yeah, I mean, if you had died, I would have brought either Golbjorn or I probably would have brought Golbjorn into the lane here too. And killed another minion and had another hero there. So I don't know. I don't think it would have been enough there, even if you had a 3 lead. Also, oh yeah, never mind. I was thinking we didn't move it one. Because if you had one more hero in there, but I brought one more hero in there, you would have killed my 2 minions. I would have killed one more. I think it would have moved back to here. And if I'm off by 1, it would still have moved here.
Yeah. Oh man. So if I had known what your plan was going to be, like if I had seen that coming, I did have a hilarious line, but so I drew it.
One of the things that I was impressed. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so I was gonna say I drew Supernova, and I could have ran Hokusai into the middle of the group and hit everyone with his Supernova.
Nice.
That would have been pretty funny.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't have been able to kill multiple people with the Shalabi damage in one turn. You would have killed a chemo, but then that would have messed up the double kill. Well, at the time, I was worried about him dying.
do keep in mind, though, that Shilavi's flip is a May, so Kirito could have intentionally not done that, because that's one of the things that I was talking about with myself was, so he could kill Kirito right now with the Outsider, but that doesn't make any sense, because now you can just set up for the double kill on Shalavi, which is what he ended up doing.
Right.
Yeah, and I tried to use my minions and the Outsider to kind of box Shilavi in there as much as possible.
I noticed that.
I wanted to make sure with the Rampant Hatred that I would be able to at least get one of them, at least get Shilavi with it, and then if I wasn't able to get a chemo was at 1, and I could have used Dance of the Predator.
Nice. Yeah. So basically, you had it locked up either way.
Yeah, I needed to make sure they didn't run away, and like I had this discharge here, and I could have killed a chemo when you tried to move out, but I'm like, I don't want to do this. I do not want to kill a chemo. You can kill Frail, that's fine. I don't want Frail to die, but it's a sacrifice that needs to be made.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that once again, I would like to let you know that you have disappointed me, Kirito. I spent at least 5 minutes, although apparently there were some buffering issues at the beginning, so I don't know if that 5 minutes actually even made it to air. But I spent at least 5 minutes hyping up the Sky Tier discharge chains that your deck would be able to do, and then we didn't get to see anything. I'm like, so he's gonna run someone back and forth over the white line, and then just discharge a whole bunch of damage on top of what an unlucky hero is standing next to the end, and then it never happened, and I was very sad and disappointed.
Yeah.
So actually, when Shilavi had moved into the dome here, I think it was Shilavi there, and I had Frail here. I had one discharge in hand, so I was thinking I would move 1, 2, 3, and back in, and then I could do a skirmish back and forth. Like, I was looking at that line, but then Frail had dropped too low.
Okay.
And I at that point when Frail's HP had dropped too low,
yes.
And then I was still kind of looking at it, and then the sacrifice, when he had the charm off of the sacrifice at the beginning, I'm like, okay, at this point, I probably shouldn't do that.
Not worth.
But I had the play. I was setting up for that play, and then he foiled me.
Well, speaking of foiling, I wanted to, one of the things that I talked about kind of while you guys were in the draft stage was I was a little bit concerned with the high amount of +1s and the low, I'm sorry, not +1s, the high amount of 1 manas and the kind of low amount of 3 manas, but you actually had a really strong board presence on the control front despite only having 1 3-mana card per hero aside from their ultimate. So I thought that was very well played on your part, Jeremy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm still tinkering with things. We were talking before the game. I'm still pretty new to all of it, but I'm trying to pick it up as quick as I can. So yeah, Uh, yeah, when I was picking heroes, part of my thing, I wanted to have heroes who had a lot of ability to influence the board, not through those cards, but just through their normal abilities. So, like Shalabi has the option to take 2 minions off the board. Um, Yami has her ability, and then I had ended up throwing in a Chemo and Hokusai to deal with games where there's a lot of armor. So they're kind of my, if there's a bunch of kill objectives, I like those two, and especially when most of your board has 1 armor roughly, so that Hokusai has a really nice ability there. And then I had the other 2 characters to help with board presence. Otherwise, if it was more minion control focused.
Well, speaking of, that was one thing that did interest me. I thought that there might be potential for, if you would have left Hokusai in the dome as opposed to sending him into lane 2, I thought that there might have been some potential for a kill on Freyhill whenever she was marked, because you would have both the armor debuff from Hokusai and also the attack buff for Akimo. I can't remember exactly if it would have made a difference, but I thought that could have been potentially an early kill point for you on that one. But I still liked the idea of blowing up a tower round 2 and potentially pressuring the Nexus in round 3. That was also very well done.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been tough to deal with, I'd imagine, unless you met a victory objective. Like it either forces you to use a lot of resources to try to stop, or you just have to find a way to win that round, which you did easily. But
no, it definitely put me in a difficult situation, because it meant that I absolutely could not kill Akimo earlier, because if I did, it would have ruined my chance of double kill, and I wouldn't have been able to get obstinacy until the next turn. And so, this put me on a real clock here. I mean, I either would have had to.
Kirito, you just cut out.
That and invasion, and it just was a really awkward situation, or I need to get the double kill. So you basically you made it so I only had one option. So it definitely made things difficult. Now my game plan from the beginning was to ignore this lane, just don't lose to invasion, and then go for double kill. So from the beginning, I was expecting this lane to go pretty much how it did.
Yeah, like I figured it was a little bit more aggressive than you were probably expecting to actually get the break. Like I figured you were probably expecting more likely that I would just take down 3 towers or something like that, which is.
Oh yeah. Though the dragon punch there to take out the whole tower definitely made me a little nervous. I was not anticipating the whole tower to go down that turn.
Yeah.
So that definitely made it difficult. I don't know if you noticed when commentating, by the way, but I mulliganed 5 cards. They were all 3 mana cards.
I did miss that, unfortunately. Yeah, I was running around trying to get everything set up, and then there was like buffering issues and whatnot. So I unfortunately did miss the mulligans.
Yeah, I had all 6 cards I drew were 3 mana cards, and it was so awkward because I run 13 3 mana cards, and I'm like, I know if I like I want my nourishes and sacrifices and discharges and stuff early, so I need to get rid of some of these, but I know if I get rid of all these, I'm gonna have a hard time leading. I'm like, well, I run presences. It won't help me turn 1, but I'll keep the Dance of the Predator in hand. If I need it as a lead, I have it as a lead. You know, hopefully I will draw into like at least 1 3 mana card, and then I can kind of, you know, I'm not going for invasion here, so I don't need to lead as much as I would like. So I kind of just like did that, but on turn 1 I had 2 leads from deck in the dome, and they were both 1s.
Yeah.
And I was not surprised by it, but considering all the 3s that I had already gotten past. It was unfortunate though, but at least I knew what was gonna happen there. So
and I'd imagine since I led from hand, you expected it was a 3 that I put down too. So
and then I had to. I had to do some worshipping to like heal or whatever. I probably could have done Probably could have led with maybe done one of those from hand, but I was hoping I can throw some from deck first, and then if I need to, I can go from hand later. Or if I have enough from hand or enough from deck, maybe I'll hit it at 3. So I took a little bit of a risk there, and it didn't work out.
I mean, the healing definitely paid off, though. Like, there were several times where there were assassination opportunities, and the heals from Freyhill's passive definitely moved your champions high enough that it's like, all right, it's not worth trying to kill them anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was trying to heal Frail and Street as my first. Like, I went with Frail as my first hero on turn 2, just so that way she could exhaust and then shapeshift again and heal.
Makes sense.
And I positioned her in a way that would make it very difficult for Astrida to die too. I tried to protect Astrida with the white line and having heroes on the sides there. Akimo being disarmed was that's what it was. I could have led with Golbjarn, but I to guarantee winning the dome, but I decided it was more important to disarm Akimo.
Yeah, mulliging away that clear mind really felt bad for Akimo a couple of turns in a row. It was like, oh
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Disarming Akimo was very important.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, good game.
Yeah, thanks.
You definitely don't seem like somebody who's only played 3 games before.
Yeah, well, I've played a lot of card games and things like that, so I think I bring some of that experience. But yeah, so
and you mentioned you've watched a lot of content too.
Right. Yeah, I had started watching Team Covenant, and then I've been subscribed on YouTube and watching a bunch of the big tournament games. So.
Did you see me losing the qualifiers to Smiaz?
I haven't been paying as much attention to the names. Was that recent, or was that?
Yeah, the August qualifiers was like a week and a half ago. On Sunday, and I played. I was in the quarterfinals, and I lost the quarterfinals of that.
No, I haven't been able to catch up on the ones from the last couple of weeks, so.
Okay.
I'm a little behind.
Well, in that case, you have no idea what's going to happen.
I remember seeing the one game where, with a similar combo to the one you used to finish me off, so I should have been a little bit more aware of it, where I saw someone just doing skirmish for ridiculous amounts of damage.
Oh, yeah. And Golbjarn, what was nice about that play too, especially for people who aren't as experienced, is because that skirmish is an AoE, I was able to do it through the dome.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the way that your characters work together, because, like I mentioned during the game, I didn't realize that Revenge doesn't require line of sight before, and so when that started, the first time you pinged me with that, it's like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
No, that's so my and the name of my deck is Suicide Squad.
Version 2.
Yes, version 2. Version 1 was the one I ran in the qualifiers. That version had Tlakali instead of Ekrit. I've made a few other changes since then too. I wanted to do a separate version so that way I was able to post that deck list and still make changes without showing the one that was in the qualifiers. Anyway, I run things like Sacrifice and Strength over Pain to intentionally make myself lose HP to trigger Revenge. I used Astrida's ability a couple of times to Revenge too, and the Suicide Squad name comes from the Skytear Discharge, where I intentionally shapeshift and run back and forth through the dome bear border to deal a ton of damage to myself and revenge for a lot.
Hey, Kirito, I told everybody this 70 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, he didn't. My opponent didn't hear it. Okay.
I'm just messing with you. I'm sorry. That was inappropriate.
Yeah. And by the way, I apologize, Commander. On that last skirmish there with Golbjarn to kill when Akimo was at 1, I should have used Skytear Discharge and moved back and forth.
I mean, you should have. But you know,
although the damage would have been, so I would have had to choose not to damage with the skirmish, because otherwise that would have actually resolved first.
Correct. But it's okay. I mean, I think by this point the community is used to you disappointing me on a regular enough basis that we'll all be able to sleep tonight. Don't worry.
In fact, it's actually better this way. If I didn't disappoint you, that would have been, disappointing.
All right, Jeremy, any final thoughts?
No, no. This event was a lot of fun, so I'm glad they started running it, and look forward to playing more games against.
Awesome,
That's pretty
Kirito.
cool.
Any final thoughts from you?
Thank you very much for the game, Jeremy. I'm sure I'll be seeing a lot more of you in the Discord if you ever want to play some games.